All right, we are back
We're
from the Disney vortex. And it was a crazy week. We were there for 5 days. Actually, we were in Disneyland California Adventure for 3 days.
We were in the parks for 3 days.
But it was a 5-day trip.
It was a 5-day trip, yeah.
And it was crazy.
And so we're going to talk about the experience, not being Disney people, but loving that experience. We're going to talk about it today.
That's the thing, though, is like people...
But before we do...
Okay, I go. Hit us with the connect card. I think it's so funny, like the flack that I got for going to Disneyland, promoting Disney in any way, shape, or form. People just have serious issues with that, and it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Christian. It's Christians that have those perspectives, but it's like, what? And mostly, I get where they're coming from. Like, they don't want to condone everything that Disney is about or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, in my opinion, none of that really comes through in the parks. Like, I get that there is some of that in the movies, and our kids don't watch every Disney movie under the sun, but like, that doesn't come through when you're in the park. When you're in the park, all you experience is just like the magicalness of the absolute craziness of the production that it is to run Disneyland, which is always just mind-blowing to Jeremy and I. And it's truly so fun. Like, our kids have an absolute blast. We have an absolute blast, even though we're exhausted. Anyways, we'll share more, but...
Yeah, we're going to get right into that. But first, let's do a Connect card.
You got a good one?
This is from the couples edition. These are amazing. They're so easy, such great touch points. I had a thought the other day. I was trying to make a post actually about it. It's always hard, like, coming up with a thought and then, like, sharing it to Instagram or social media. It just feels... But, what was it? It was around that concept. I think Aristotle initially had the concept, but then it was like reimagined by someone, and it was you have circumstantial friends, situational friends, and lifelong friends. And then my thought was, man, it's so interesting how what is supposed to be a lifelong relationship ends up becoming or falling into a circumstantial or situationally parametered relationship. For example,
what made you think of this? How is this connected to Disneyland? No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Because we're doing Connect cards, and these are amazing because they're touch points.
Yes. They're
ways to like get around the logistical necessity relationship of marriage, and there are ways to cut under, some of the you annoy me, I have these pet peeves and these stresses, this and that. These kind of cut through all of that, and it reaches to that lifelong relationship strand that I think is fun and still there, buried under the weight of relational life. That's what I'm saying. Because
I love Connect cards. Obviously.
Yeah, they're great. I'm trying to convey a thought that I had the other day and why these are great. But
that's good.
If you could live in another time period, when would it be? Did we already do that?
I don't know. I don't remember what we've already done. Pick one that you like because you're picky.
I think we've done all those. Sorry. I think we've done all those ones I just pulled. I'm going to pull 4 more. Do you think we would have been friends in high school?
Yes.
Really?
I think if you went to my high school... I think
we would have, yeah.
I think if you went to my high school, you would have been different at my high school. I think if I went to your high school, I would have been in your context. You know what I mean? Like, you would have done different things at my high school.
Do you think we would have started our journey together sooner? Or do you think something would have happened where we would have ended up on different journeys?
I think we would have started our journey together sooner.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so too.
I just think we have enough... even like in our younger years, like we just maybe even more so had more similarities in like our teenage years of just our quirkinesses and our dream bignesses.
I'm glad we met when we did though.
Yeah.
Just because it worked out, and like if we met earlier and it didn't work out.
Yeah. I think that we would have been friends though, because you would have played soccer. I would have been run like athlete stuff. You just collide a lot. And
let's get in our Disneyland trip.
Yeah,
I agree. Not to cut you off. But we don't have that much time. This is going to be a shorter episode.
You say that every episode.
Yeah, well, this time it actually has to be.
Every time it has to be. Okay. So here's what we did this time. So we've been to Disneyland twice with our kids. We've also been to Disneyland once, just Jeremy and I.
I think we've been once with our kids, Audrey.
Nope. Wait, what?
Well, now we've been twice, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Jeremy and I went together one time when we were married before kids. We were actually reminiscing on this because the friends that we went with when we lived in Los Angeles to Disneyland, we went for Valentine's Day when we lived in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we were reminiscing on standing in the line for Cars. And it was like newer then. Cars landed like just open.
It was 60 minutes, I remember, yeah.
10, 11 years ago. We stood in line forever. And it was Valentine's Day. Like, it didn't matter at all that we were standing in line because we had no kids and we were just talking with our friends for an hour. So it's like, might as well talk in line to wait for a ride. It's not that different than sitting at a restaurant, talking, waiting for food. You know what I mean? Like, It just was like so different. And then I texted Brittany afterwards. I was like, what would it be like to go to Disneyland now? Because they have 4 kids and we have 4 kids. Like, totally different experience than when we had no kids. But anyways, we went with just Ember and Bodhi 2.5 years ago. And we actually had Radley at the time, but chose to leave him at home. He was 15 months old. And we intentionally chose to do that because I personally feel like 1 to 18 months, 1 to 2 would be like the hardest time to take a kid to Disneyland. Some people say like crawling before they're walking, like this time right now with Mira, and obviously every circumstance is different. I think though, the like under 1, it's like they're not afraid of the rides. Like Mira went on every no height requirement ride and she was just, she's not scared of spiders or scared of like overstimulation stuff. Like I tried to cover her eyes because I wanted to, but like, and she still can like nap in the stroller. That's a huge thing. Nap in the stroller, fall asleep in the stroller, all of that. Whereas when you're closer to 2, that's just like gets harder. Yeah, obviously it can happen, but it gets harder.
That's why we left.
So we chose to leave Radley at home, and it was so fun, just like dominating with the older 2 kids. Like when we went 2 years ago, we loved it. But this time we decided to bring all the kids, and we did not go with grandparents, which you do kind of set yourself apart when you go to Disneyland without grandparents because everyone else there seems to be with their grandparents if you have a lot of kids. Like there's a lot of grandparents there. And we have 4 kids and they're all under 7 and under. So like they need to be assisted on the rides. And one thing that I didn't know going into the trip that I wish I would have known that caused a little bit of a because Bodhi and Ember are tall enough to go on basically all of the rides. Ember's tall enough to go on all of the rides. But she needs to still be sitting by an adult on some of them. Bodhi can go on all the rides, but he has to be sitting next to an adult. And so does Radley. And so there were some rides where like I thought that I would be able to go on with both the boys and Ember. But it was like if it was a 2-seater, I had to sit. Radley had to wait. Or like one kid had to wait and not go with all of us and then go again, you know? Mm-hmm. Anyways, one thing that I'll say was like a game changer this time is we decided to use a Disney travel agent, which I was going
to start with that.
Sounds maybe weird if you've never gone to Disney before, but it's actually like you don't pay extra for it. Disney pays them a commission like through your booking. And so it's literally like a service to you. And it is incredible because Disneyland, and I don't know about Disney World because I've never been to Disney World, but Disneyland changes a lot.
Yeah, and it really is its own world.
Yes.
Everything's changing. Even the people at Disney, when we showed up there, checking into the Grand Hotel, I said, we used an agent this time. And even they were like, oh, well, let's hope they're up to date on stuff. Like they're paid to be up to date. And even she expected them to be behind on
because
things.
There's just so like many. And when we went 2 years ago, it was so different than this time.
Yeah, that being said, it was extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that doesn't plan our trips. Like me looking at Audrey, her workload was way off on that just kind of technical, logistical.
Yeah. I mean, you're still planning it, like with the Disney travel agent, you're still planning it, but they're helping to answer all of your questions. They're booking it. Like,
that's kind of what I mean.
package,
The research is gone. Like the need
and
to like.
the main thing that like I back and forth with her about the most was just like figuring out, do you want to do park hoppers or like single park per day? Because Disneyland has Disneyland and it has California Adventure. So they're separate parks. So the main thing you have to figure out is like, are you going to do one day, one the other? Or are you going to do this thing called park hopper every day? The other thing to figure out is lightning lane, which is like the old fast passes, right? Figuring that out and how you're going to do that. And if you're going to do it for everybody or just some people in your family, because maybe you have a 3-year-old that doesn't want to go on any of the lightning lanes or isn't tall enough for them, then it's not worth buying it for. So it's like figuring out all of that based on your kids' ages and if you want to spend the money on that, or if you want to spend the extra money on this thing called Premier Pass, which we did do one day. And I'll explain it, and you can banter with me if you think it was worth it or not. But that was another thing that was just, it's new. They didn't have that when we went 2 years ago. But it's basically a way to not be on your phone all day and not have to schedule all of your rides. So you get outside of that, like having to be a certain place at a certain time. So let me back up just a little bit. I will say if you're going to Disneyland with young kids, Lightning Lane is like an absolute must. You must do it. It's not that expensive. It's $30 per person per day. About roughly. It changes, like the cost changes a little bit based on like crowds and demand and stuff.
My personal opinion, it's as Audrey said, an absolute must.
Like if you're spending the money to go there, you like with tired little kids waiting in line. I mean, it just
Jerry, you want a free trip to Disneyland, but we don't have Lightning Pass? I would decline.
Yeah. It honestly, like I don't know how Jeremy and I, when we were walking by all the people in the standby lines going through the Lightning Lane, like there wasn't that many people that were doing that with little kids. Like it's mostly adults or teenagers or college
or they
kids
have little kids, but they're like, I don't know. I kept running through my brain like, why would anyone wait 75 minutes for a ride with little kids in line? And then it occurred to me, they're probably locals. Yeah. They probably have a season pass. They're probably here all the time.
True, but even those people, like, brutal.
And like they might pick their couple trips a year where they do Lightning Lane, but like if they're coming several times a month, it adds up. Like you go and you wait and you do your thing at Disneyland. Okay, now I want you to speak to this because I feel like a lot of people just in reading my DMs and stuff, like their husbands are very anti-Disney and they're like, I want to take my kids to Disneyland, but my husband's like, no. So I want you to say a little thing on that. And also I want you to say because I know a lot of husbands that hate crowds. Husbands hate crowds. Well, I don't know if this is a male female thing, but like men just like Jeremy specifically like way more than most men, I think. But I think that this is a common thing among men. Like they just don't like crowds. And so I want you to speak to that. Why are you okay with Disneyland? Why do you like Disneyland when it's so crowded? Well, we went when it was supposed to not be crowded.
Yeah.
First of all.
It wasn't crowded by definition of
so that helped.
But it's still like body to body walking down Main Street. So
I mean I think it's not a good experience. And crowds.
No, I know, but why are you okay with going to Disneyland crowds? Like, did you feel like it was
I'm okay
really,
with
really
Disneyland crowds? It's that I feel like we did our best to not only mitigate the crowds that were there, but also spend the marginal extra dollars in the grand scheme of the trip to avoid crowds. Like waiting in line and all this other stuff. Like, so we did these like little things that were helpful, I would say. But what was the question? Why?
Also,
why am I okay with Disneyland? Yeah. Because I feel like the benefit outweighed that naggy distaste. You know what I mean? Like going to Disneyland with the kids and engaging, playing with them on the boardwalk at 9 a.m. as Buzz Lightyear and just bonding in this cool way, using Disneyland as a set to have these core memories with my kids just felt like it was worth doing despite me not being okay with crowds, you know? And
maybe not supporting everything that Disney supports.
Yeah. And exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Disney, and
because that's the thing that people get so hung up on is
a lot of people get hung up because there's been like some stuff.
Supportive of everything that the zoo supports, but you take your kids to the zoo. Like, where does it end with that? That's where I just like people get so insane.
It's good to be aware of things, but like I feel like a lot of people, common phrase, they throw the baby out with the bathwater, and because they don't know how to navigate nuance and dance, they don't know how to dance with the devil, if you will. And so,
I mean, that sounds weird.
What I mean is like, what I mean is, okay, so you don't want to go to Disney because they're subtly programming your kids with propaganda through shows and television, which is what shows and televisions have always done. But you yourself are watching Game of Thrones and other things, programming yourself. Oh, or you have an iPhone, slave labor.
Yeah.
Like, where do you got to learn how to dance with the devil is what I'm saying. Like, there's just this.
That sounds like a bad saying, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to eliminate the devil altogether, not only are you scapegoating your own ignorance, because where you execute, like, I say no to Disney because I just learned about propaganda, but you're totally ignorant to where your iPhone comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, so what? The second you become aware of that, what are you going to do? Boycott Apple? It's like, no, you have to be able to look at it and navigate it.
Yeah.
Dance with it.
I think it is like different though when like, okay, because there are certain things that I feel like.
And maybe people will take that the wrong way because they don't understand what I'm trying to communicate. But
I feel like, don't you feel, you would probably agree with this too. Like if someone has a personal conviction on something, like don't sin against your own conscience, right? Like the scripture says, like if you have your own personal conviction against Disney, then like follow that. You know what I mean? Like, most people, it's like other people's convictions put on them, and they're like, I don't feel like it's okay for me to go because like as a Christian I can't go, and like they're supporting of these things. Now here's another thing I want to say, and like cancel me for it, whatever. But like, I know what the biggest pain point is with Christians when it comes to Disney. Okay, it's pretty obvious. Like most people know what that is with gender stuff. When you go to Disneyland, it is the most... I remember thinking this the first time we went there. I'm like, it's so opposite that promoting. Like you go on these rides and it's like, kiss the girl, and it's like male, female, everything. It's princesses and princes.
Yeah, but again,
so like
hopefully the physical experience of Disneyland won't catch up to what they're currently trying to do via mental programming with their movies and stuff. Like, because it lags behind 10, 20 years.
Sure, and maybe it will, and maybe they'll do more of that. And I know that there's been, racist rides that they've completely rebranded, like, right? Like, so they've done certain things in that vein. But again, it's like, okay, like, our kids don't notice any of that. And if anything, they're like, we are perceptive of like, we didn't go through like the haunted mansion.
Let's back up a second.
You know what I mean?
Let's back up a second.
We are deciding what we're going to expose them to while they're there.
Let me back up a second.
Sense. Yes, go ahead.
With what you're saying, with what I'm saying, and without spending all of our time on this kind of nuanceical issue, it is an interesting issue. I think it's like we gatekeep a lot of Disney. I would say 90% of Disney.
Yeah, it's like Pooh Bear, Toy Story, and Cars.
Hold on. Yeah, out of our home. Like we're not a Disney family, and we are acutely aware of subtle programming and little words that are or are not said, and how that's lines of code that our kids are going to, it's the operating system our kids are going to live their life based off of. So like we are aware of all that, and we do our gatekeeping as parents the best way we see fit. That's also manageable. Now, that being said, I feel like the physical location of Disney for a family to go and make memories is, you're able to do that experience as a not Disney family.
Yes, absolutely.
That's kind of the point.
Your kids do not need to know all the characters. They do not need to know.
Yeah, our kids, Ember got, I don't know how many signatures from various characters. She didn't even know who half of them were. Like,
seeing a princess walking by is fun and cool.
It's fun. Yeah,
like
totally.
She didn't know who all of them were, but like she thought that was really cool. Her favorite ride is the Incredicoaster, which is the big, massive roller coaster, which... Oh, a whole nother thing. Ember, like, she is a freaking
now. If you don't want to go to Disney,
she's never seen the Incredibles. Like, she doesn't know what that ride is themed after.
Yeah,
like.
Now I get it though. I'm not knocking people who like just say, I don't want to support that. Great. Yeah. Like, don't. You're a warrior. Like, stick to it. That's awesome. And there are things we feel that way about. We do that with.
Yeah. Right. Fair. That's what I'm saying. If it is your own personal conviction, great. Like, obviously, like, respect people that have that. But when you're saying, like, to me, when you are saying to me, that's the devil's place, how could you go there? You're putting your maybe conviction or just, like, whatever you're,
Yeah, I mean, Disney is it's of the world. Like, it is this, it's this world. Like, there's nothing more profitable for a company than to get their hooks in a kid's mind or a kid's subconscious, right? And I mean, I see that at Disney. You do see there's two kind of dark sides that while I was there that I noticed, and one was like, well, I don't know, like some adults maybe just never grow out of that, that obsession, that little kid character obsession. And it was interesting to kind of process that, but also the food. Can we just say that real quick?
Oh my gosh. It's so bad.
The food, if you're going to Disney, you got to just prep for the food and we
just embrace it.
It. We didn't make it a thing for our kids, but like,
it is what it is. And you just got to know that.
Yeah. Our kids noticed and they even asked us about it and like, why do these eggs taste like rubber? And we're just like, oh, it's guys, Roloffs are on vacation, and so we made it.
Roloffs are high maintenance.
The first day, though, it was this like collective. We weren't gonna be stinky, annoying about it, but we just said, kids, we're here to. They had cotton candy for the first time. We're like, yeah, have cotton candy, like,
and they were like, blah, fabric.
Yeah, Ember said it tastes like fabric, but we're like, let's do the thing, right? Because, and I explained to Ember, I said like, we have rules so that we can break them. The problem is when you don't have rules. Mm-hmm. Roloffs, we live by a set of rules. We have a code of life. Yeah. We love that because it gives us energy and makes us strong and keeps us young and aligns us with God. Yeah. But then it's okay to like have these experiences. Yeah. And I feel like Ember got that concept for a second. The boys are obviously clueless. They're too young, but the food is really bad.
Yeah. And we also let them have ice cream. We let them have candy and lollipop. We don't let our kids have artificial dyes. We don't let them have high fructose corn syrup. We don't let them have like artificial sugars, even like on a regular basis. Like I'm way more strict than the normal person on those kinds of things. And we just everything out the door when we were in Disneyland. It was like, whatever, let them have whatever, whenever, because we didn't want it to be about that there. And like, we didn't want to make a thing about eating. And honestly, here's another thing. So our Disney travel agent, she made a dinner reservation for us every day. And 2 of the days we stuck to it. The day that we got to Disneyland, like before going to the park, we flew there and like we did that. And we ate at a really nice place. And downtown Disney has like really nice food. We ate the good Mexican food.
Yeah,
place.
Downtown Disney has some great places.
But the other days,
because it's not Disney, it's
we didn't
outside.
want to revolve our days around food because for our specific family, and this is something that I think you have to think about when you're going to Disneyland, depending on the age of your kids and depending on what your kids are like. Like some people like go to Disneyland and it's just about the magic and the walking around and getting the princess signatures and doing the little kid rides and watching the fireworks and that's it. Like they're not like, or maybe doing a show or parade or whatever. Our kids are like rides. They wanted to do the rides. Specifically Ember, which she kind of drives the thing,
We could have chilled a little bit more in my opinion.
We weren't like watching the shows and like meandering around. We were like maximizing how could we get through all of the rides basically in 3
I don't know.
days.
Yeah, we did do that.
We were doing that.
But I personally, part of my
Jared
love
didn't like
for
how
Disney,
rushed that was.
I like walking through Star Wars land and just realizing that this is a feat of human excellence. Like this is the scale of which they built that. Like when I'm looking up at the Millennium Falcon and the detail of every single nut and bolt and rusty paint spot, I'm like, this is beyond. This is like,
that's what you appreciate about Disney.
How did anyone? I wish I had more time to just meander.
Yeah, tell them about Ember and Bodhi's experience on Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance.
Oh yeah, they still think we actually went to space.
Well, the first time you went on it.
Ember was excited to go on the Star Wars ride.
The ride broke down though.
The ride broke down, and I was like, "Ooh, Ember, like we gotta."
Jared just played it up because when a ride breaks down in Disneyland, they make it all part of.
So we got like escorted
They're like,
out.
You're landing in space and like.
So Ember thought we got kidnapped and went to space, but something broke, and she wanted to go on the ride again this time to see if it was real. And I'm not. I want to teach them how to think. So like Ember asks, she's been asking all year, is that
really
real?
go to
Is that real?
space.
And I keep telling her like, well, what do you think? You know, like, what do you think? Tell me why you think it's fake? Tell me why you think it's real. And so she's like trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to get her brain to like fire. Instead of me just giving her the answer, I want her to like, you know, and this time she did not like the ride at all because the characters are creepy, but there was a drop in it that she liked.
Yeah, she loves the thrill
Rise
of
the
the ride,
Resistance
but not
is
the
an
characters.
unreal ride. 3 times on that ride, I audibly was like, wow, when we went into the, anyways, it was just this scale. Because I hadn't been on the ride because it broke down last time. I didn't re-go on it when it was open.
I thought you re-went on it.
No, I never did. That was my first time going on it, I think.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. That world is crazy. Radley, you took Ember and Bodie on that ride, and then I took Radley afterwards, and Ember and Bodie didn't like it because they didn't like the
Rad
creepy
loved
guys.
it.
Rad loved it. Bad guys.
Bad
He's
guys,
like,
yeah.
Bad guys and shooter guns. And Rad came out. We took him to church on Sunday after Disneyland, and like Rad just basically, he came home with like a new language. He's just activating shooter gun. Everywhere he goes, he run down the hall of the Sunday school and he's like activating shooter guns as he's like running to school again. He's in like, that's another thing we realized on this trip. He is like level 10 energy kid.
Yeah, he's
He
definitely
never
he's set apart
He never stops.
from the other two. He never stops.
And
Yelling, running.
Energy and like
in his head, like
imitating things and like, yeah, just the aggression, like is so different. But okay, I want to do a quick breakdown of like walk through the day, how we did today.
Do we have time to do that?
Yeah, we have time to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what we did. I'm sharing it because I know a lot of you guys are going to Disneyland this summer / soon or want to take your kids. So hopefully this can be helpful. Obviously, I'm not an expert on Disneyland. I've taken my kids
I want to
twice.
say one thing before you start.
So, and I know it changes all the time, but as of right now, if you're going soon,
Let me say one thing
maybe
though.
this is helpful. Yeah.
What you're about to share, which is our game plan for the day, was largely possible because we stayed at the Grand.
We could have done it at any of the
But we didn't
on
have
property.
to travel to the park. There was
Yeah,
no
right.
car, no vehicle. We didn't eat up any time. It's like, wake up, go down the elevator, walk a couple hundred
Absolutely.
feet, we're in the park.
Yes. So there's 3 hotels in Disneyland.
That's just
there's
a
Pixar.
caveat. That's a caveat because
Most people stay within walking distance.
great,
though.
awesome.
So,
I didn't know that. I don't know.
There's 3 hotels that you are like basically like they're what do you call them? On property hotels. So there's Disneyland Hotel, the Grand, which is in California Adventure, right next to California Adventure, and then Pixar Place or whatever the other one is. And when you stay, like, so we stayed at the Grand. Last time we went 2 years ago, we stayed at Disneyland Hotel. And Disneyland Hotel is close, but you have to walk through downtown Disney to get into Disneyland and California Adventure. Whereas the Grand is literally like right next door to California Adventure. And currently they are renovating the main entrance from the Grand, like to California Adventure. So there's like this back entrance and it was like elevator down from our room straight into the park. And no one really, like, the general public can enter through those entrances, I think, is what I think that was my understanding of it. But no one really knew about this entrance because within the hotel, like embedded. Anyways, it was like no lines to get in. You go through like a metal detector thing, like security check, and then show them your tickets and stuff right there. And that was like so much easier. Whereas so that's how we got into the park on the days that we had early entry to California Adventure. When you stay at one of those hotels, you can get into the parks 30 minutes before everyone else. So the park's open at 8. You can get in at 7:30 if you stay at one of those hotels. You just have to scan your hotel key. So, but they used to do it where you can pick which park you want to go into. If you have a park hopper, you can pick or, But now they have a designated, like, it's early entry to Disneyland Day or it's early entry to California Adventure Day.
Yeah.
So we only had one day where we had early entry to Disneyland, and then we had, backwards. We had 2 days that had early entry to Disneyland and 1 day that had early entry to California Adventure. Which I feel like it was, if you have little kids, much more valuable to have early entry to Disneyland. Like, really, you just don't need early entry to California Adventure that much because it's like the rides aren't as conducive to little kids and the lines aren't that long.
Mater's
in them.
Roundup is the
I
only-
guess Cars Land, sure.
Yeah, but like even Cars Land, it's you want to be there at night. It's just a night. It's
right.
built for the night.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And so Disneyland, like all the stuff in Fantasyland, all the little kid rides that like all adults want to go into, none of those are lightning lane. So you have to stand in the standby line. So we tried to do all of those in that 30 minutes that we got into the park before everyone was there. Now, backing up. To get into Disneyland, you have to go through the main Disneyland entrance. We had to wait in line with everybody else that didn't have early entry access to the park, but could get into the park and walk down Main Street, but can't get into all of the rides. It's kind of I don't like how they do that.
Yeah, me neither.
But anyways, so that was kind of annoying. We didn't get up early enough the first day that we did that. Another way that you can do it though is you can take the tram. There's like this train tram from your hotel, Disneyland hotel or California Adventure, into Tomorrowland. So it takes you you bypass security at the main gate entrance of Disneyland. And wake up. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
And then
this is where the logistics.
And then you get straight. And Jared's like, I was in La La Land. Jared still didn't understand Lightning Lane fully at the end of the trip. He's like, why can't you just book this? What is single pass? Like he was like. Anyways, you can get straight into the park that way. But you can't, you have to break down your stroller in order to get on the tram. And our stroller breakdown mechanism actually broke in TSA and it was this whole debacle thing. Anyways, so that was super annoying because we would have done that both days. Daddy fixed it. But it was still annoying to break down that day because it didn't, you kind of fixed it, but it was like.
I fixed it.
We brought this stroller that was like great. I'm so glad that we brought it. But it's not like an easy to break down stroller.
Yeah, we brought it.
It has two seats. It's a double.
The two-lay sleek and with the skate, and we could fit all 4 kids on it.
Yeah, the older 2 could kind of hang onto the skate. It's like a little board that you can like stand on in the back. And then Mira could face us the whole time, which I think was really good because she could see
and that's why we brought it. So Mira could see us. And then Rad could be up front and the 2 kids could be, and so I was.
And Rad wasn't bothering
I was
Mira.
picking my lines in the crowds and like. We were cruising. Yeah.
We did 15.
It was hang on for dear life. You're on the stroller ride right now, kids.
Yeah. We did 20 to 25,000 steps a day. And honestly, Bodhi and Ember walked a lot.
Yeah, they did.
Like they walked a lot. Ember was complaining that her ankle hurt at the end of the trip. Anyways, so we woke up at like 6:30 every day. Tried to get like, they say get in line to get into the park 45 minutes before you want to be in the park. So we tried to do that, but we didn't really do it every day. I had Instacarted groceries to our hotel, so I fed the kids like bananas with peanut butter, yogurt, and granola real quick in the hotel in the morning.
Yeah, and like I made PB
like
and jellies so we could have them in the park
lunch.
With bananas and chips and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we brought a lot of our food, and we pretty much snacked. Whenever the kids wanted to snack, they could snack, and then we did ice cream stop before our naps.
Okay, yeah. So we're getting to that.
Yeah.
So we got up at around 6.
This is supposed to be how it
into
went.
The park 7:30.
Yeah.
Then we try to do no lightning lane rides, but we would like book our first lightning lane ride, and we just do all the standby line rides, which is like what you want to do then. And then you kind of like go through the scheduling of your day. Once you book a lightning lane, you have to go on that ride before you can book your next one. So it's this Tetrix game of like seeing, and there's a time slot that they give you for your lightning lane that you have to show up within the hour period. You have a little bit of a grace period, which actually they were more lenient than I thought they were on that, would be on that.
They were very lenient. I think we were like 30 minutes late to one.
Every day around 2 or 3, we went back to the hotel and everybody napped. This is like my number one tip, because you want to do the early entry thing and take advantage of that, and then you want to stay out late because it's really fun to do the rides at night and see the light shows, and like the magic of Disneyland is all kind of comes live at night.
Yeah.
But to do the early thing and the late thing, you have to have a chunk of the day where you nap. That's where staying close to the park was amazing. So we went back every day and took a 2-hour nap. Everyone slept. I brought the slumber pod, which is like this blackout tent thing for Mira.
A must.
And we were all in a tiny hotel room, 2 queen beds, 1 room, all of us. Jared and I slept in one bed, Ember and Bodhi in another, Bradley on a pull-out couch, and Mira in a crib that they brought to the room. And it was awesome because you're never in your room except to sleep. And the kids are so tired. The second we turn off the lights and turn on the sound machine, they were all out, all 4 of them, like just out for 2 hours
like
straight.
Clockwork.
We woke them up and they were so groggy. Like, we're going to go back to Disneyland. They're like, we want to sleep.
Yeah. But then they rallied, gave them snacks, and we were in the park in
we
10
basically,
minutes.
yeah, then we would go back into the park and basically like eat dinner. Like once we got back in the park, we would eat like after getting back because they're up, they're hungry. And so that was like our first kind of like ease in to waking back up. And then we did all the nighttime stuff and kept doing rides and things.
And I asked the restaurant if I could have a side salad, and they said, we don't do side salads. I said, okay.
Just French fries.
Extra fries, I guess.
Yes.
Double grease.
Just churros with $7 churros. Okay, here's another thing that I think was like massively helpful that I want to explain because there were so many questions about this. Rider swap and Premier Pass. So first of all, you tell me if you think Premier Pass was worth it.
I think that if you're
it
on
was
the
$1,700. It was $1,700 for our family of 4. We had to buy it for every single person except for Mira.
If you are on the fence and money and you know it would be quite the pull to do it, I would not recommend it. I don't think it was worth it.
Okay.
Now, if you can afford it and you're on the fence, I would do it, but just for one day max, and just pick what day you want that to be. It's super convenient. Audrey didn't have to like be scheduling rides. We could just show up and do whatever we wanted. We chose to do it on a day where her sister just so happened to be there. So her sister could sit with Mira, and us and all of the kids could go on rides. So it made a lot of sense for us to do that. We
hammered through rides that day.
Yeah, and that was great.
We prioritized.
It made it worth it. But in hindsight, I would say I don't think it's worth the expense unless you have some sort of situation like that, or your whole family can go on every ride.
Yeah, old enough to go on every ride.
If your whole family is old enough to go on every ride, yes, it's probably, and you can afford it, it's worth to do it for a day. It's super nice.
Yeah.
But in the grand picture,
I would say,
hey, you're okay not doing it.
Let's say you're going on a trip with Bodhi, his 7-year-old trip, just you and him. Would you do it like if it was just the two of you? So you're only paying for the cost of just 2 people doing it. Would you do it? Would you schedule?
Well, how much would it be?
It's around $200. It's $200 to $400 a day, depending on the day.
$100 extra dollars.
It's $200 to $400 a day, depending on the day.
So it could be $800 extra dollars.
Could be.
I mean, the tickets are already $350 each.
That's where I'm like, expensive. Not that day. I will say the value that it gets you is not having to schedule your day.
Let me say this,
and not having to show up at rides at times, and not having to be on your phone. And I love that.
Yeah, but let me say this: if you're a ride heavy family,
it might be worth it.
But like, I personally would love, walking around with an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Just looking at the details of the weeds, because there are none. But like, just, that's what I mean. Like paying attention to landscaping and then looking at this crazy Cars land. And then that's half of Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that's just as good as a ride.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I probably would say no. Don't need it.
I think that for the day that we did it, given that we were a ride family and that we were in Disneyland for 3 days, I think it was worth it to do for one day, and I would not have done it for another. I'm glad we did it the middle day because we kind of did it the normal way the first day, and then it was like better the second day.
Yeah.
But the last day we were a little slower, so we weren't like hammering through. We were just doing all the kids' favorite things.
I think we did it perfect, but that's my vote. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. I will also say if you want to conquer everything in both parks, like 3 days kind of minimum, unless you have older kids that are walking and you're not in a stroller season.
Totally. 3 days was good. Yeah.
The way that rider swap works is you have one of your kids is not tall enough to go on the ride. So obviously a parent needs to stay back with that kid while the other parent takes the kids that are tall enough on the ride. You just show up to, whether it's a standby ride or lightning lane, doesn't matter. They'll honor it for either. But if it is let's just say, for example, it's a lightning lane ride. What we would do is we would all approach the lightning lane with the baby in the stroller and everything. You can't take a stroller through the lines. So you have to park your stroller in these designated parking areas in Disneyland, which means anytime.
They're everywhere and they're convenient.
Yeah. Which it's something to think about with babies, though, because if you're going to bring your baby on a ride, you got to get them out of the stroller. If they're asleep, you're transferring them to carrier while you wait in line. Then you're taking them out of the carrier maybe to go on the ride. They actually didn't care ever. They never told me to take the carrier off. I went on the rides with her in the carrier. Mm-hmm. Anyways, back to rider swap. One of you has to stay back with the baby. When we would approach the line with all the kids, I would kind of like, not play dumb, but I would just be like, okay, we're going to do a rider swap. And I don't think that they always realize how many kids we had. Like we would approach and they'd be like, okay, you can come back with 2 people. with 2 kids.
And then you would just politely ask, well,
and I would
go
say,
with all of them?
I would say, okay, Bodie and Emma, only 2 of you can come back again. Like,
man.
Who was there? And they'd be like,
shucks.
oh, you have 3 kids. I think they genuinely didn't realize that
Yeah.
there was like 3
And then
going
they-
on the
they
ride
let you
and
do it.
another
Yeah.
baby. I think they thought Radley wasn't tall enough
Yeah.
when we were to approach, and that the older 2 were going because they couldn't see Mira in the stroller. Anyways, all that to say, they would take my name down sometimes, or sometimes they'd just like scan it onto your ticket and basically let all the kids go on the ride with Jeremy, come back, and then all the kids would go back on the ride with me. If it was a lightning lane, we'd go back into the lightning lane and get in the lightning lane again to go on it. If it was a standby line, you just walk through the exit. Literally, they just told us to wait at the exit, and then I could go on the ride again with all the kids. So that was awesome. And then all the no height requirement rides, we just took Mira on with us. Except for like a couple because she was sleeping. So the rider swap thing was actually like great because
awesome.
our older 3
Super
got to go on like we'd go on cars twice in one day. They'd go on cars 4 times in one day, you know, like,
it was awesome.
And for Ember, the Incredicoaster, like just lapping on the Incredicoaster.
Yep.
Cause that's the other thing about Premier Pass. Okay. Premier Pass gets you lightning lane for all the rides that are lightning lane one time. It only works one time. So you can only ride that ride without having to schedule or plan.
Yeah,
it. You
I mean,
just
that's
walk
another
up and
thing,
stand
like-
in a lightning lane one time per day.
If they added twice, so you could do rides twice while you were there.
Yeah, I
it
kind of
would
think
level it up.
that
But for
should
the
be a
money,
thing.
like, geez, pull it down a little bit or give us something more. It's not worth it. But the rider swap was amazing.
Yeah, because what if you're like, I hate Matterhorn bobsleds. I just want to do Incredicoaster and Space Mountain all day, and you're paying for a Premier, but then you wouldn't pay for a Premier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. There should be a way that you can do that. Like pick the rides that you want to like be able to go on more times.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was awesome. We had a great experience.
We had a great time.
Kids came home exhausted.
It was a lot of work, but
25,000 steps a day.
everything went well. I feel like we had a good rhythm because we were there 3 days and we took that midday nap. We kind of had 6 quarters. So it was Q1, Q2, Q3 to Q6.
Yeah.
And pretty much every quarter was dialed, and we stuck
had
to
no
our plan.
blowouts this
Yeah, we
trip.
stuck to our plan. There's just a few things to know, and that is like travel agents are super helpful. Definitely be within walking distance of the park.
Mobile order your food.
Mobile order your food. Bring food if you
Instacart food to the hotel.
Yeah, if you care
Batteries.
about that.
Oh, I messed this up. Disneyland replaces batteries in things for free. I didn't know that.
serious?
Yeah, and I bought batteries on Instacart. Someone told me that, and I forgot about that because I knew that was a thing from 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I totally forgot about that because the
Crazy.
kids just run their bubble makers.
Yeah, they love it.
Constant.
Well, we'll have some links down below to some things in the description.
Yeah. Anyways, cheers.
Share the show. Please like it if you're on YouTube, or subscribe. And it helps. It helps. We got to get our, what do they call it? The algorithm health up. So if you are a consistent listener, please give it a like and a share.
Yeah.
Greatly
And thanks
appreciate
to
it.
everyone that did listen to our controversial episode last week. If you
Well, it
missed
wasn't really controversial. It's just
Thank you. But I was okay.
We went
were
places
very
we
nervous
don't
about
normally
airing
go.
that, and I think that it was really interesting. Just the conversation after having aired it, people's thoughts and opinions on it. I think it was very interesting. Like,
yeah, it was very
It was
interesting.
kind of a gauge
we were nervous
test
to
for us
air
a
it
little bit.
simply because we were talking about things that required a lot of nuance,
Yeah.
and people tend to disregard nuance and black and white, heaven and hell. It's like, and so we were like, ooh, we're putting this out there, but you guys were awesome. So
Yeah.
and very interested. So we're gonna start. We've obviously been thinking about a lot of that stuff for a long time, and the telepathy tapes were kind of this like
Larger
excuse.
conversation.
Yeah, it's like this reason
doorway.
to talk about some of that.
Yeah.
But I think specifically the Christian integration into having some of these conversations is really needed right now, and we need to be able to explore pathways of how the words we use to describe truth is kind of intermingling with science and a lot of different areas. So I'm excited. It's gonna be fun to do some more like that.
Yep.
Okay. You gotta let your mom go.
Okay.
See you guys next time.